And without further ado, we will move on to our first game, Mega Man Legends. For the PlayStation, it was nominated by @GG developed by Capcom Production Studio 2, published by Capcom. Earliest release date is December 18th, 1997 in Japan.
Took a whole year for it to get to the US for localization, so 1998 in August, I think, in Japan.
Well, nobody told them that when it's just like an ellipses, you're supposed to go... They didn't know that, so they
to be fair, it did have quite a heck of a localization on it, with voice acting that, while probably a little rusty now, was not too bad for the time either.
Well, this was a period of time where everything was localized 100%. You ripped the Japanese out of the game and put in English or whatever.
Those aren't rice balls, they're hamburgers, damn it.
I was expecting the voice acting to be kind of dated and like a lot of like 90s dubs. It actually holds up pretty well. Like most of the main characters are pretty good. There's like maybe a couple like side characters, because there are a couple side characters that get voice lines and they don't sound quite as good, but like the main cast and like the Bonds especially, they surprisingly hold up.
The only real issue with the voice acting is just the way that the dialogue is broken up so that they talk like this. You know, like
that was the case in like every studio back then, that they had to basically record the lines individually instead of everyone being in the same room. But I guess it was just how things were carried out at the time.
But let's say good track. But so Mega Man Legends is a 3D Mega Man. Is this the first 3D Mega Man? And that made people very angry for no really pertinent reason.
Well, they didn't realize that like Mega Man was one of the only classic video game series that would return to 2D. They didn't know that at the time, so yeah, they were upset.
Okay, Mega Man Legends is an anomaly compared to the rest of the series at large. Like, if somehow somebody doesn't know what Mega Man is, it's like a massive series of these action platformers. Pretty standard. You go around.
Don't even bother. Okay. Nobody is listening to this show that does not know what Mega Man is. Like,
well, you have likely played a Mega Man or Mega Man X game in your lifetime at some point.
Well, we've looked at a Mega Man game on here before, so they should know, because they should have listened to that episode.
That's a good point.
Well, they not only listen to the shows, they play the games we discuss. It's a very religious experience for our listeners.
Okay.
I know, I play every game you guys have reviewed.
Okay, let's just put down this rule. Let's do our best to not compare Legends to the rest of Mega Man at large, because it is absolutely nothing like them. It's really just Mega Man in name only, and that the protagonist is called that, and that his sidekick is Roll, but other than that, so aside from a few vague ties, it has nothing to do with the rest of the series. And for a while...
It kind of takes the opposite direction that the X series. The X series, like, basically looked at the NES ones kind of, like, supercharged at all, and, like, with, like, bigger bosses, like, faster gameplay. And this one just, like, kind of, like, takes it apart, and, like, there's some stuff that's, like, tangentially Mega Man. Like, you can still get, like, sub-weapons, but you find them completely different, and like, you have a lot of the characters, but just, it's very different from like any other Mega Man games, like both before it and that would come after it, for that matter.
I would say tonally different, to the extent that the old Mega Man games had a tone. I mean, Mega Man X games had like a tone which was like, yeah, in your face 90s. But
it was a rare series to do dark.
Yeah.
It was a rare series to do darker and edgier, right? Although Legends is, once again, opposing to X in that it's considerably lighter than X, and I don't know, maybe a little lighter than the classic series for what very little you get out of that.
Well, the game kind of falls out of time with itself. I have no idea like where they sort of came up with this game. And just in terms of, it's all cartoony and bright. It doesn't look like almost any other PlayStation game in terms of how they handle the art. And especially in 97, where everything was gritty. So I think that...
it almost feels like it was based off of an anime series that doesn't exist.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and call this the best Ghibli video game ever made. Certainly better than Ni no Kuni.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Ooh, swish. I haven't played much Ni no Kuni, so I will agree with you without looking into that further. But, I can see the Miyazaki ties with this one. It definitely has an art style that was evocative of, Ghibli's films and other, high-quality studio films from the era. It's,
that and some classic Disney thrown in, with, like, the gigantic, round heads and, yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely. No, this is, although already off the set, I mean, I think it really looks damn good. Even for like 1997, like is a good deal of definition in the characters and even the backgrounds. Not everything just looks like jangly triangles.
I just thought of this because I'm an idiot, but you know what was probably a huge influence on this was Astro Boy.
Yeah, I could see that.
Now, actually, Astro Boy has been an influence for Mega Man ever since Mega Man 1.
Right, but I mean, with this game in particular, like just like the character, the art style.
Yeah, the head ratio and the coloring style, it definitely.
Yeah, just like the way their bodies are shaped.
There's a lot of Osamu Tezuka's art style in here, no question.
I never thought of that before.
But so do you guys want to explain kind of, because this one doesn't play like a regular Mega Man, so it's got like dungeon crawling and almost RPG elements in it kind of deal, which is different to Mega Man ever.
It kind of does like a 3D Zelda game, I think like a year before Ocarina of Time came out.
It is Mega Man meets Zelda. It is the PlayStation's answer to Zelda. I don't know if that's a bit of a hot take.
It's kind of a backwards take because this was a year before Ocarina of Time, so it's a very...
Right.
They're like, hey, look, we looked into the future and we counted Ocarina of Time preemptively.
Does it have something akin to Z targeting?
It has like a targeting
actually.
system, yeah.
I think it does, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's as effective as the Ocarina of Time one, which is why it's not kind of famous and legendary for being kind of a step forward.
Yeah, it's useful, but it's like a bit hard to use. Like it, particularly if there's like multiple targets. I noticed this during the one boss fight when you're on the flutter and you have a bunch of flying ships going around. I would like hold lock on and I'd be shooting at one, and if it would move out of range, I would swing around to another one. And it got kind of hard to keep track of. It's not as much of a problem when you're in a dungeon and like fighting even multiple Reaver bots, but just in that particular instance, it kind of, and it doesn't have like a targeting icon, so you just know that you're targeting them because it centers on them, which is kind of weird.
It's also kind of like a weird definitely pre-Ocarina of Time in the sense that you almost feel like you're flat on the screen the way Mega Man moves, and you kind of like strafe left and right, and the camera just feels kind of. It's not claustrophobic, but it is a very strange sort of sense if you played more modern 3D games with left and right sticks. With this one, it feels really chunky how you move the camera around. I can't really describe it other than blocky.
Claustrophobic is actually a really good word for it. Sorry if I keep jumping again, but like
go ahead.
in like the dungeons, like a lot of them are like they have like super narrow hallways, and like there'll be like a Reaver bot at the other end and shooting at you, and have like little way to dodge, and you can dodge because you have the strafe. But yeah, it is. Very claustrophobic and like kind of creepy. Like,
yes.
Just a kind of tangent.
It reminds me of 3D Zybots, which is really strange, but for some reason, I get like a Zybots sort of element from it.
Good comparison.
Yeah,
I love Zybots.
I love Zybots.
Yeah, everyone should love Zybots. But the Reaver bots themselves, I always found. Like I said, they always also feel like something from an anime of some sort, like. I don't know, something out of Akira. Just something about them feels creepy.
A lot of anime in this game.
It's
super anime.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I was something with the project director at the time. Like I said, it feels like this should have been. I guess maybe Capcom wanted it to make like their own sort of balls out, super anime influence game, and they wanted to put like kind of a pet passion project, and they wanted to put the Mega Man name on it to see if other people would get into it too. Like,
well, it's a Keiji Ifune game, and he's a character designer and artist, so I'm really not surprised that he brought in a lot of like, we need to have bright, colorful art. And really, really big and interesting bosses, which is what I want to bring up, is that this game has some really cool scale in terms of your enemies in this game. Like,
yeah, definitely.
Compared to classic Mega Man, which obviously, most of your enemies are, especially the Robot Masters, they're all Mega Man size, whereas in this one, you've got these towering bosses that are genuinely huge and leap around arenas, and you've got like a cool fight on a boat, and then you fight like this, frog sort of monster that's a giant robot that chases you around. It's cool stuff for a kind of otherwise boring era of boss fights.
Yeah, I think the most outstanding boss I remember, because I kept dying to it a lot, was this massive yellow drill machine where you had to actually like jump on a platform to shoot at the door behind its head.
Yeah, the Marl Wolf.
Yeah, it's like Proto Shadow of Colossus hiding in there.
That is a pivotal fight, yeah.
The game really front loads a lot of its difficulty. Like, you have like the intro stage, and you get to Catalog's Island, which is the place where it takes place. You get into like a basic dungeon there, and then suddenly you have like all the bonds attacking the city, and you have like a bunch of different like complicated boss fight scenarios. and then after that you go to Teaselbon, who's like has his own boss fight, and then it actually kind of slows up, and like you have it's a much more broken up between boss fights and dungeon. But like that first like couple hours or so, like you do a lot.
So the slight elephant, I guess, about the game, on that exact note, the game was rushed out, I believe. Capcom really wanted to get the game out, and Ifune went on record with just like, the game wasn't finished. I wanted to work more on it, but they chose to release it. So
wow,
you know,
it actually feels pretty
a lot of games,
finished as it is. So I'm actually pretty impressed by that. Now,
Ifune would say it was rushed out always. He's just be like, no, it wasn't finished. They shouldn't release it.
I can see that because it's actually not a very long game. Like I was playing before this, and I didn't quite get around to finishing it, but like I was getting to the point where I could enter the final dungeon, and I was at like the 8-hour mark, which I thought that game was a lot longer than that.
No, it is short. I think that was part of the critical reception that it received.
I'm seeing a long play now. It comes up just short of 6 hours, but I didn't think it was that short at all. Honestly, I was really playing this one for hours back in the day. I guess I just found the areas so immersive to explore. I mean,
of course, a game of this type will vary depending on how much you want to spend running around and looking at stuff and kind of getting involved in the game.
Yeah, because there's a lot of what you could do. Like my run time was including me like going around. There's a lot you can do on this island. Not everything has a unique model, like say like Wind Waker, but like there's a lot of personality and stuff you can do. Like there's a museum you can like find treasures and bring it to. There's like a gang of kids that you can help like make their clubhouse and find their naughty magazine, except in the American versions.
Wasn't there like a game show where you were rolling on rocket skates to beat a race time of some sort?
Yeah, there's a TV station where there's like a bunch of mini games you can do. One's like kicking like a dog, a robot dog that's chasing a person, and including sometimes kicking other dogs into it. There's the racing.
I remember in the industrial zone, there's this dog that will attack you, but if you kick him, you lose morality points. This game actually has a faint morality system to it. I don't know if anyone wanted to bring that up. Where if you do bad things, now, Dis, go ahead.
Like you can do bad things. Like some of them they took out. Like apparently, like I was reading the HD 101 article, and like you can apparently like shoot birds in like the field stages, and like. You can kick the dogs that attack you, but you were able to like even kick some of like the normal ones. Like there's an early scene in the game where there's like a dog that's like literally chased Tron up a light pole. And in the American game, the only thing you can do is like you can talk to the dog and get it to go away. But apparently in the Japanese one, you could actually kick it in order to like save Tron.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and apparently the more you don't like it, I imagine this might have been a feature they had to cut and it could have done more. But like it essentially turns your armor like a darker black, and I think there's some like NPC dialogue. Like there were some NPCs like, "Oh, you're such a nice boy helping out," and I'm wondering if I was evil, would they say like, "Oh no, you're a punk."
Yeah, I think like at least if your armor grows darker, some stuff you purchase is more expensive. But I don't know if I was just imagining that or
I think
something that was cut out.
I think they do more with it in Mega Man Legends 2, but that I haven't played recently enough to tell.
It's interesting that sort of leads into what I assume that maybe Steamboat Chronicles was inspired by these games, because there's a lot of similar elements, especially the morality.
I can see that.
Anything else to say about Mega Man Legends? Because I feel like we're running out of material on that.
Let's see. We could talk about like the cast and how like the Bonds are like the best supporting cast in video games.
Yeah. No, I can get on board. I mean, they were enough of a slam hit that, of course, there was the spin-off game, The Misadventures of Tron Bonne, which I like quite a bit myself. Actually, it's a very cute game, I gotta say.
Yeah.
Oh, and that this game has given Capcom their most enduring mascot in the Servbots that Tron's created. Her 40 helpers, these cute little guys with like yellow Lego heads and smiling expressions. They are so cute. I want to plush one. I want to hug them. And, they're such a solid mascot that they have outlived their own series by showing up as like masks in the Dead Rising series. And we're not getting.
Capcom have taken up a hobby where they pretend to make a new Mega Man Legends and then they cancel it. That's kind of like a tradition they have now where they're like, hey guys, we're working on this. It's canceled.
Funny
joke.
I get into this because it's going to make us very angry, I'm sure.
Hey, listen. Be glad that it's not Konami because it would turn into a patch slot game.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Oh, God,
it could be worse, I guess.
I think a lot of the characters from this have guested in some of Capcom's like spin-off like titles and games where they like throw a bunch of cast members into games, right? Like I think some of these characters have shown up. Repeatedly.
Yeah, Tron's appeared in like the Versus game. She's appeared in like Namco X Capcom.
Yeah, so I mean,
Yeah,
this series is kind of waiting for a reboot. I don't know if like a new version would work at this point though, because it's kind of, you know, it is of its time. It was the '90s. I think all of the games from this series came out in the '90s. So,
Yeah, well, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, it's a game that, like, I don't think it could have, like, existed in another area, because it's like in an era like they're still messing on with 3D and don't really know what to do with, and like realistic graphics are like out of the question, so it's more abstract. So you get like these characters that like are all kind of like made out of cardboard boxes, but they're also kind of super stylized and charming, and like the facial expressions, and like they basically like draw like animations as sprites and put them on there, which works really well. And like I don't think like if like say this exists in the PS2 era, it would not look nearly as charming. Like there's a lot of modern games that
like rubber faces and stuff with a
compared to like the Tales games, which try so hard to be like, you know, like an anime video game all the time, and they just don't work, and like they only get really expressive when they like cut to like 2D animated skits.
Wait, Disc. What do you want to say about Hyperdimension Neptunia as far as anime games go?
Let's not talk about.
I've never played it, and I have no opinion.
That game series is a whole other thing, but I like that you touched on the art, because it's actually the enduring legacy of Mega Man Legends is just that I'm pretty sure it has helped define 3D modern indie art, because so many modern indie games use almost this exact style of sort of low poly with slight textured details in a cartoon way. Like there's quite a few games that use very similar aesthetics to this. The one I can really think of is a Drift Stage with the cars, and it's an outrun sort of style-ish game. It has the same sort of shadowed 3D. It's really cool stuff that quite a few indie games use this, because it's quite easy to whip this together now. So I think it's interesting that the art style for this game has endured, while obviously most PlayStation games people have avoided reusing that sort of junk.
Yeah, still got the wobbly like wall textures and stuff though.
Yeah, it has the floating point era, but that's a PlayStation problem. You can't deal with that unless you make toe ball and you don't use textures. Then you can avoid that problem altogether. But yeah, so this is. I
guess we got to rank this thing.
Got to rank it. No
okay, I have a tentative placement since I thought about this before coming on. Let's see. Actually, wondering if you could put it like maybe around like Panzer Dragoon Saga level, because like kind of comparable to like that.
So I'd like to throw out that this game was not critically well received, which is interesting. Like this game didn't score well critically when it came out. It would be lucky to have averaged about 75%, which, considering game magazines handed out 7 and 8s out like candy, that's not a great mark for a game. And I was interested to see why game makers and game developers at the time, why magazines and journalists at the time didn't like the game, and then why we would put it that high as a kind of contradictory placement.
Well, I think like some of the things we mentioned, like the fact that it is so short during an era of like you got to be like 80 hours to like have any sort of value, and there's all sorts of like kind of padding in like RPGs. I can see like what's like it's a less than 10-hour game. Obviously, this is worthless and it goes in the trash.
I love that, like the complete 180 we've done, where now if your game's like more than 10 hours, you have to justify like your plus 10 hour length. Oh, it's like, no, I don't want to play this for 10 hours. Leave me alone. I got better things to do, like anything else. Okay, so
what an age we live in.
For our listeners, we have around the 40 mark, we have Ape Escape, Crash Bandicoot 2 at exactly 40 and 41. Do you think Mega Man Legends beats out those PlayStation era platformer classics?
I mean, I'm talking about shit because I haven't played this game. I don't know anything about it. I do know like what Mega Man is, and like this is a sort of adventure game. Like like you said, like it's a non-answer to Zelda. I was actually just where you said. Like I was thinking maybe this should go around Maniac Mansion.
I can see that. Like I did pencil in like earlier, just like above GoldenEye, below Demon Souls.
Oh my god, that's high.
This is quite a spread. I think we'll agree it'll end up somewhere in the top 40.
I don't want to just straight up agree to that, but because
I don't.
Yeah, like we just need to be careful with this one, because okay. So firstly, the other Mega Man Legend games. Their second one, I know you didn't play it. Did anyone play the second one? That wasn't nominated, so you didn't have to.
I mean, I have played it before,
have
like
too.
just not recently.
Okay.
It's
Is it better or worse? I'm just interested to know.
I want to say kind of better. It's certainly bigger, longer, and I think they had a lot more time to get a lot more of what they wanted. It does do things differently, since it's like instead of like being self-contained to one island, you're like going between a bunch of different islands, and it like there's a lot more of like the plot of like where did the Reaver bots come from and stuff like that.
Yeah, Legends 2 is a technical improvement, but I'll admit I didn't quite like it as much as the first, for some reasons, but I can't really go into that unless we rate Legends 2, so...
Yeah, I mean, I feel about Mega Man Legends, and I've kind of let you guys say your piece about it, because I feel like you have more affection for the game than I do. I didn't dislike it. It's been a while since I played it. I never finished it, though, which tells you something, because it is not very long. I kind of feel like it's a game that people love because of when it was released, and kind of what it sort of filled a void that existed at the time. And nowadays, I don't really know whether anybody needs to play this game.
It's one
I feel like. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I can sort of see that, because like for one, like getting used to the controls is tough. Like it took me a while to do it, just because like it's a pre analog game. This was before the DualShock, and it has this weird kind of tank control movement. They fixed it for the sequel, but like it is kind of hard to figure out how to control the first few times. So I can see that being a hard thing, but I think like it's worth at least like watching a playthrough. It's like
I think its aesthetic and its humor is a lot more timeless than the actual gameplay, which I don't think is super great.
It's one. I think that it's people hold it in such high regard, also because they for a long time hoped that there would be a third Mega Man Legends game.
Yeah, it's been canceled again.
And that would do everything that they that would deliver on the promise of the other ones, and of course that's never going to happen. And
I think like maybe a little bit lower round. You see, the thing is, okay, like if I run down the list, and we got to, the problem is you run down the list, and we've said literally just seconds ago, our list is like 10 out of 10 games, and then 9.9 out of 10 games. So you can kind of like density. So falling down a little bit, do you think this game's better than Ikaruga? Because that is sitting at 55 for us.
I know. So I would put it in like the G.I. Joe Star Tropics range, the Windy range. Like I feel like it's a game that
it might be taking it a little low, just because I think its aesthetic is very strong, and in a time when most PlayStation games age like almost all the PlayStation games
like
are terrible
garbage,
today. Whereas Legends at least put in a little bit of effort.
All right, wait. I don't know if this is going to actually give Legends a bit of levity, or if it's going to completely tank any validity I have. But I'm going to lay down the most meteoric hot take ever in the history of video games. I'm not kidding. This is really a bad one. So if I lose all respect for this,
we all know your feelings for Tron Bonne.
Oh, for shucks' sake! I mean, well, okay. Let's get into that later. Okay, let's get into that now. But no, seriously. So we've been making comparisons to Ocarina of Time. That's been inevitable, because a good deal of Legends gameplay does feel akin to what would eventually become the model for all 3D Zeldas here on out. I know it is, on an objective level, not a better game, but I personally have always liked Mega Man Legends more than Ocarina of Time.
Explain why as quickly as possible. Yeah.
I think it feels more focused. I think it has better personality than Ocarina. I prefer.
Well, it's like a 5-hour game. How could it not be more focused?
It's short and sweet. Ocarina of Time's expansive waffle fest.
Yeah, short and sweet, exactly. That I do like. And I think there's a bit more. Complexity also, being able to customize Mega Man's attributes and his sub-weapons as well and all that. I think that's something that we take for granted nowadays. Like you see that kind of stuff in modern games. Like if you can't customize something or other, like it's like why does the game exist? Like it does less with more compared to Ocarina. I know.
I can see that.
Thank you. I didn't sound like a total
justify it, and when you justify it, it makes it easier to push it higher, or at least a little bit higher.
Well, For the record, we haven't ranked Ocarina of Time yet. I know it's probably going to go a lot higher.
I'm not a big fan of that game, so
I'm not either. I like Majora's Mask more. It's another hot take. So
But, okay,
there you have it.
That's not a hot take anymore.
Okay, well then it's my third favorite Zelda game. I haven't played Breath of the Wild yet. I would like to.
I've been willing to say Ocarina of Time is the worst 3D Zelda game. Like all the other ones are better.
Guys, we're talking about Mega Man Legends.
My
Mega
man,
Man Legends.
my
are
man.
better.
Mega Man Legends.
Okay.
Okay,
holy
so
shit.
let's rank this.
Okay, so I've got Descent is at 45. What do you guys think about Descent?
Around Descent? That's not bad.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
Okay, do you mean above or below Descent?
Well, I don't have to tell you where I I'm just trying to get you guys back into like a focus of like, is
Let
it
me just
around?
remind you guys what is below this territory here.
Age of Empires, Elite, Advance Force 2.
Final Fight, Wonder Boy in Monsterland, Mappy, Blue, Stinger.
Shenmue is a 59.
Yeah, I mean, this
we
is
rank
a
low
lot
because it aged really, really, really obnoxiously.
No, yeah, that's what I mean. I'm just saying that's what's below. Like,
Yeah, it's not a lot below.
And I feel that Legends, I honestly think it holds up better over time. Like,
I disagree
ancient-
strongly. I don't know why anyone would play this now. I just don't. Like, I liked it at the time. It was okay, but I mean, why? I'm saying, like, I would put this in the Bangai-O range. Mega Man Legends.
That's kind of lowballing it.
I don't think it is. What's down there? Street Fighter 3?
This is kind of a Bang.io game in that it's quirky and fun.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I get that. Like Golden Axe is just a little bit below Bang.io.
Devil's Crush, Deja Vu, Tempest 2000.
I love that list because you read it and then it's like, so it should wait. Hold on. Well, give me a moment here. Let's find where are the bad games.
Games are really far down.
No, I'm saying when you start ranking, I'm not saying it's a bad game. I'm saying when you try and find like, oh, it's definitely better than this game. It's actually quite hard to find.
No, I'm saying like what bad games in our list?
Oh boy, have you read our bad games? They're right
yeah.
at the bottom. But we can get to our bad games in a little while.
They start with Riven.
Yeah, we're mhm.
So
I didn't want to spoil it. But
okay,
yeah, it's coming.
I think Mega Man Legends is a little bit more enduring than Bang.io in the sense that people did find something in this game that they desperately want more of. And I believe they do want more of this game, which I think is substantial. And I think that the only thing that ages it is that games took a different style of 3D. And that's okay. It's not its fault that gaming moved in a very different direction. And it's still an interesting game. I think it should be a little bit... Like, I mean... Everyone looks at Bushido Blade whenever they look at a list and go, that's a great game. That's in the exact right place. I think Mega Man Legends is a little better than Bushido Blade,
how
just
about
a little bit.
Below that is actually a game that I know very well, Full Throttle, and I think, like, in the sense that games that people want more of, and I think Full Throttle fits that requirement perfectly.
Definitely does, yeah.
Yeah,
That's actually
and it was going to get more until unfortunate stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Done.
I was
kind of want to stop talking about
Wait,
it.
I was going to ask to place it between God Hand and Shenmue, actually, because I just can't stand that Shenmue holds up better than this game
Go back.
nowadays.
Yeah, I think this game...
It doesn't matter about holding up. Shenmue it's just all kinds of innovation. Like it's all kinds of crazy stuff that will never...
Yakuza makes Shenmue obsolete. There, I said it.
Well, you said it. You said it. But it doesn't... It
It kind of does. But,
you said it. Let's
what
put
if
it
we
that
put
way.
it below Shenmue? What if we put it below?
Yeah, let's flip a coin.
All right.
I'm so done with Mega Man Legends right now.
You guys have disappointed me, except for you, Discord. You're my friend.
Hey, listen.
Yeah,
I'm the
did our
neutral one
best.
here.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
So,
So above or below Shenmue? Let's.
Are we gonna have to flip a coin?
You want to flip a coin? We haven't flipped a coin in a while, and I wouldn't mind flipping a coin just to see.
Okay, heads it ends up above Shenmue, tails.
Do you have the coin?
This is our scientific method, everybody.
No, I want to have the coin. I suck at
All right.
What's more scientific than raw coin flippers?
Let me get. I'm
Coin
getting out
flippers,
a
yes.
authentic Australian 20-cent coin. It has the queen's head on one side and a platypus on the
Can't
other.
argue with
It's very
science,
Australian.
unfortunately.
Best coin ever. Oh my god, I want that. I love Flight.
All right, I'm gonna flip it. Estenga, what was your thing?
Heads above, tails below. That's
All right, here we go. It's platypus, which is tails.
Oh, all right. Well, if the fates decree it, I guess it'll go below Shenmue. But in my heart, it's above, and maybe 10 places above.
If you're a fan of PlayStation 1 action adventure games, you should play this one because it is good.
All right.